My name is Clara. I'm 42, and until today, I believed I understood my marriage. That morning, the sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting warm light over the coffee pot as I ground the beans, the rhythmic sound a comfort in my routine. I poured the rich brew into a mug, the familiar aroma warming me as I prepared breakfast for Mark like any other day. But something lingered in the air, a sense of unease I couldn't quite shake. It hovered like a storm cloud, dark and heavy. I finished breakfast, and as I cleared the dishes, I glanced toward the study where Mark often disappeared behind closed doors. My heart tightened instinctively. I had always respected his privacy, convinced that his work was sacred, crucial, yet today, a fatally curious impulse propelled me toward the door. As I approached, I heard the soft hum of his laptop. The study was dim, lit only by the glow of the screen. I stepped inside, the air thick with dust motes floating lazily. Mark wasn't there. I glanced around, half expecting him to appear at any moment and claim the space as his own, but he remained absent. There it was, the laptop open, its screen flickering with the promise of secrets. My fingers hesitated above the keyboard until, against my better judgment, I leaned forward. The folder labeled "Personal" stood out in bold letters, drawing me in like a moth to a flame. A sense of impending dread washed over me, but curiosity won out. I clicked it open, and the moment I began to read, my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The emails unfolded like a dark story I never asked to read. There was no subtlety. They were unmistakably intimate. A conversation between Mark and a woman whose name I did not recognize. My breath hitched as I scanned words that betrayed the past 20 years of my life. Years filled with laughter, dreams sacrificed at the altar of his ambition, and love that now felt like an illusion. What struck me most were his plans, cold and calculating. Mark had listed potential strategies to manipulate me, his strategies, to secure our assets and deceive me into giving him everything. My head spun. I felt as if the room were tilting beneath my feet. How could he do this? How could he be so ruthless? A cold sweat beaded on my forehead as the betrayal sank in. My mind raced back to all the signs I had ignored, the late nights at work that had been dismissed as ambition, the subtle snubs disguised as jokes at my expense, my dreams for my art left to wither as I catered to his needs. I had sacrificed my own aspirations for him, my dedication enveloping me like a shroud. But this was unfathomable. Standing alone in that room, I felt my dignity eroding, my identity slipping away. I imagined myself a ghost, a husk of what I used to be, doomed to float through the remnants of a life I thought I had loved. The warmth of the sunlight outside was now cruelly distant. I was locked in the disquiet of my own betrayal. He thought he could control my narrative, but he forgot I was the author of my own story. In that moment, rage ignited within me, a flicker of strength beneath the debris of my shattered trust. I clicked the laptop closed with trembling hands, heart racing, an echoing finality in that small action. The screen went dark, but the hollowness surrounding me only intensified. I would not be a victim. I would not let this betrayal define me. Somehow I would fix this. Pull back the layers of deceit Mark had wrapped around our lives. But as I stepped away from the desk, the chill of realization washed over me. I was alone in this. The betrayal twisted like a knife, and I knew I could not confront it just yet. I needed clarity. I needed time to process the evidence I had stumbled upon, to plan my next moves before confronting the duplicity woven deep in the fabric of our lives. I made my way to the kitchen, the smell of coffee now bitter on my tongue. I poured the last of it down the sink, watching the dark liquid swirl as if it were a vortex swallowing my illusions whole. Time ticked by, each second a reminder of the life I had naively clung to. I was just waiting for Mark to come home, to slip back into the routine while the truth simmered beneath the surface, poisonous and ready to erupt. But today, everything would change. Today, I would begin to piece together a strategy, a way to reclaim my life and dignity. I would gather evidence and build a fortress of my own creation. Suddenly, clarity washed over me. I would not let him write the end of this story. Starting now, I would reclaim my narrative. The illusion he had so carefully crafted around us would shatter under the weight of truth. Mark was a man who could control many things, but he could not control me. As I spotted the empty bookshelf, once filled with our memories of a shared life, I realized it was time to fill it with my own chapters. Each silent moment would become an opportunity, each memory a stepping stone towards a powerful resolution. I wouldn't just survive, I would thrive. And so, with resolve, I prepared to confront the dark dance of deceit. I would be ready when the time came. A silent author in the shadows, crafting a new beginning from the ashes of betrayal. In the days following my discovery, I fell into an exile of my own making. I shifted my routine, hastily moving about the house with a practiced smile and genuine warmth that felt like a mask. Mark remained blissfully unaware, his arrogance allowing him to believe he held dominion over our life together. But beneath that facade, my heart lay in tatters, each heartbeat a reminder of the deception that now defined our existence. The guest room became my sanctuary, or rather, my prison. The coldness of its walls mirrored the chilling sensation nestled within me. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring into the transformed space that once housed our shared dreams. These walls had witnessed laughter, love, and the building of a life, yet now they shuddered under the weight of betrayal. My art supplies lay boxed in the corner, abandoned, dusty, as if they mourned the artist I once aspired to be. I found myself lost in memories, flickers of a time when everything felt genuine. Late nights spent over a bottle of wine, painting together for hours. Those moments slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. I recalled the way Mark used to look at me then, with adoration sparkling in his eyes, brushing stray paint from my cheeks, laughing as they smudged across his own. We were partners in creativity, playing with colors as he painted the world with dreams of success. Would he have called me co-creator back then, or just wife? Now, that laughter felt like a haunting echo. I clung to the memories even as they twisted in my gut, becoming leaden reminders of how quickly affection could transform into apathy. My sacrifices to uplift him suddenly morphed into a point of contention. I had put my career on hold, making room for his ambitions, and yet I was nothing but a stage prop in his grand performance, one that was quickly unraveling. Days turned into weeks, marching on in a numbing blur of silence, interrupted only by the ticking clock on the wall. No heartwarming conversations filled the space where laughter used to reside. Instead, tension hung in the air thick enough to cut. I watched as he strolled in after long hours, his mind distant, his gaze occupied by texts and notifications that danced in the palm of his hand. I was an invisible spectator, shunned into a shadow while he spun his web around other hearts. That emptiness festered, leading me into a strange solitude. It was like being submerged in water, surrounded by muffled sounds and blurred visions. The surface felt miles away, unreachable. Whispers of doubt plagued me. Perhaps I was too sensitive, too dramatic. Growing up, I was always the one to let every little thing bother me. He would say I overreacted, that I should be grateful he kept a roof over my head, a twisted kindness thinly veiling his cold disregard for my emotional state. I shut my eyes, envisioning the life I had built. I had sacrificed so much to support his dreams, believing our partnership was a shared journey. Our home once thrummed with the energy of love and creativity, our laughter inspiring the brushstrokes that splattered color across blank canvases. I recalled the first pieces I sold, how proud we had felt. I could almost hear Mark complimenting my work as if he truly believed in me. Yet now, I felt a faint pulse of resentment blooming within me. I had shaped my entire life around his needs while I crumbled silently beneath the weight of my unfulfilled aspirations. "You're lucky," I could hear myself saying, mimicking his voice. Who was I in this equation? Just a ghost of my former self. I had become an apparition flickering under the lid of his illusion. As memories flooded my mind, I turned my focus outward. I observed Mark closely. His phone now had become an extension of himself, a tether to the outside world where he thrived without me. I noted his casual disregard for our relationship, the calls he took in hushed tones, often laughing at jokes I couldn't hear. It was a painful juxtaposition of my silent existence against the backdrop of his vibrant life. It was during these moments of observation that I began to formulate a plan within the sanctuary of my solitary confinement. I couldn't confront him outright. That would reveal my hand far too early. Instead, I would gather pieces of the puzzle, documenting his habits, noting the times he was away, discussing things that had nothing to do with me, making connections that could set me free. Every afternoon, I would sit at the small desk in my guest room, meticulously writing everything down. I became a historian to my own heartache. I compiled notes of conversations, financial transactions, and text messages that seemed innocuous but carried significant weight when considered in the larger narrative. I could feel the shift, a subtle empowerment fueling my actions. I was no longer a passive participant in this betrayal. I was reclaiming my agency bit by bit. "I will reclaim my life," I whispered to myself in those early dawn hours, feeling the simmering determination rising within me. Each moment spent contemplating the path forward layered strength upon my sense of self-mastery. Day by day, I felt as though I was awakening from a prolonged slumber, slowly shedding the heavy skin of complacency, realizing I was more than a character in Mark's tale. I was stepping into my own narrative once more. With each quiet act of defiance, I started writing my story, revealing the truths buried beneath Mark's deception, waiting for the moment when I would rise to speak them out loud. I would wait, preparing to articulate the truth that had been hushed for far too long. In the stillness of my exile, I was transforming, a phoenix preparing to rise from the ashes. Days morphed into a routine that felt both torturous and liberating. I had become adept at floating through the house like a specter, engaging with Mark as he spoke of work, casually nodding while my mind wandered, each exchange a stark reminder of the facade we had built. I could see now how he manipulated the very language of our interaction, twisting words into tools of oppression. Yet, my silent vigilance bore fruit. One afternoon, feeling restless and determined, I decided to return to Mark's laptop. It called to me, a forbidden treasure trove of certainties I needed to unearth. My heart beat rapidly as I approached the study, a space where I felt I was losing parts of myself yet again. With a deep breath, I opened the door, heart pounding in my chest, the muted sound of the ticking clock echoing my anxiety. The laptop sat innocently on the desk, but I knew better than to underestimate its contents. I powered it on and clicked on that familiar folder. What would I encounter this time? I felt a mixture of dread and resolve as I scoured through the emails that had opened my eyes previously. But this time was different. Among the emails detailing escapades and intimate moments with a woman named Samantha, I noticed a thread titled Financial Strategy. My fingers trembled as I clicked it open, revealing a host of documents that pivoted my growing suspicions into sharp clarity. There were spreadsheets, bold numbers gleaming on the screen, indicating an unsettling transfer of funds. My heart raced as I read line after line, each summarizing a well-orchestrated plan behind my back. Mark had been siphoning off funds from our joint accounts, creating secret investments that, while appearing innocuous, were meant to eliminate me, financially and emotionally. Fury bubbled up, mixing with betrayal, as I scrolled through transactions that deleted my presence from our lives without a trace. It was astonishing how calculated he had been. Coldly, he detailed every effort to secure assets in his name alone, maneuvering around me as though I were an afterthought, a mere obstacle to overcome in his quest for financial independence from our shared life. Each figure screamed betrayal, but there was a hidden message, a lifeline buried within the betrayal. My eyes caught an attachment titled Future Plans. I gasped as I opened it, revealing not only his detailed financial schemes but also arrangements for a getaway, a trip planned for two, described within as a chance to deepen their connection. My heart raced, each word igniting a tumult of emotions. Animosity surged through me with newfound strength. This was it. This was the secret leverage I had been searching for, the linchpin that could topple the carefully curated world Mark had built on deceit. Control. That was all he ever wanted. Control over our lives, our finances, and my very being. But he had underestimated me, underestimated my capacity for resilience and my capacity for revenge. With every ounce of determination, I copied the documents onto a USB drive, tucking it securely into my pocket as if it were a stake driven into the heart of his betrayal. I understood the importance of timing. Leverage now coursed through my veins like an electric thrill, potent and intoxicating. I clutched the drive, the weight of it a harbinger of change. I would not squander this opportunity. Mark's arrogance had led him to believe he could manipulate me like a mere pawn, but now I held a potent weapon against his treachery. The flame of empowerment blossomed brighter within me, lighting a path forward filled with purpose. In the days that followed, I maintained my guise of the dutiful wife. I continued to observe, gathering further intel. Each instance of inattention on his part felt like a gift, a glimpse into the world he thought was safely tucked away. My evenings turned into quiet research sessions, cross-referencing accounts and numbers with cold, methodical precision. My skills as an artist, once used to paint colors on canvas, now served to document the shades of his betrayal in stark black and white. I reached out to Jenna, my closest friend. Meeting at our favorite cafe in hushed whispers felt like orchestrating a clandestine operation, but I needed her insight and strength. She listened intently as I confided in her, revealing the details of the nefarious dealings I had uncovered. "You're not alone in this," Jenna assured me, her voice firm but laced with understanding. "What you have is powerful. It's your truth, and it's your agency. Use it wisely." With her encouragement, I solidified my actions, outlining the traits of the woman who had been entwined in Mark's deception. The very woman who would receive a special invitation to witness the unveiling of his greatest folly. With the knowledge I now possessed, I began to visualize the confrontation, mapping out each word I would speak, each truth unveiled in due time. Mark had foolishly thought he could manipulate both me and the boundaries of our lives, but I was no longer sitting idle as the author of his story. Covertly, I was reclaiming the narrative that was so cruelly stolen from me, chapter by chapter. Seated at the desk in my sanctuary of solitude, I returned to my notes, the excitement of my new role invigorating my spirit. I would craft my path forward, armed with the truth and determined to bring light to the shadowy corners of our life together. With the USB tucked within my purse, I stood tall, ready to break the silence clouding the truth, a woman on the brink of regaining her power, the author of my own story, shaping the ending that I deserved. With the crucial evidence in my possession, I knew I had one opportunity to ensure this story didn't end with Mark still calling the shots. The USB drive felt heavy in my purse, wrapped around my determination like a secret kept close to the heart. I needed to gather more details, more context. This wasn't just about establishing facts. It was about dismantling the life he had built on deceit and betrayal. I immersed myself in investigation mode, drawing on strengths I had long neglected. My days became a blend of sophistication and stealth as I maneuvered through the environments Mark frequented, each visit offering glimpses into his duplicitous world. I kept my questions indirect and light, asking casually about work events, trying to catch those fleeting moments when his guard would drop. Wednesday mornings were his busiest, filled with client meetings and secret phone calls. If I timed it right, I could slip into his office under the guise of running errands. I took mental notes and used the time wisely, rifling through the financial documents he had left scattered across his desk, bank statements, receipts, the odd note that showed he was as careless as he was dishonest. The art of observation became my ally. I learned the names of his colleagues and slowly earned trust as I learned to master the small talk that oozed from every conference room conversation. I played the role of the supportive wife who was naturally just curious about her husband's work, innocent yet perceptive. One Thursday, after an inconspicuous visit to his office, I overheard snippets of conversations buzzing through the air, each one laden with hints, innuendos, and relationships I was eager to map out. "Samantha's presentation was a hit," one of his colleagues remarked, eliciting a smirk from another. "Mark's really taken a shine to her." The casual mention struck like a match, igniting a new lane of inquiry. I hadn't realized how deeply he had embedded himself in this woman's life, painting an elaborate portrait of connection while painting over our own. Determined to investigate more, I had an idea. I approached a mutual acquaintance of Mark's, someone who was less of a friend and more of an audience, a door deep within his corporate realm. "Hey, you know Mark, right? What's this I hear about him and Samantha?" I fired off the question during a casual lunch, voice amiable but probing. A furrowed brow accompanied his laugh as he spoke of office gossip, leaning in conspiratorially. "Watch out for that one," he grinned. "She's got a charm that gets the boss's attention." I concentrated on his words, my heart racing at the prospect of pulling in more threads. Did he know? Did he suspect what was going on? I couldn't pinpoint who to trust, but I pressed on, gathering pieces of the puzzle while maintaining an air of casual interest. In the evenings, I wore the mask of a wife dedicated to family life. I planned dinners that engaged him long enough to keep him unaware of my growing strategy against him. Cooking and cleaning became a ritual not just for domesticity, but as a method to stay vigilant. I replayed our conversations, dissected his casually dismissive comments for hidden meanings, all while the undercurrent of determination pushed me further into my mission. One night, I heard Mark's voice on the phone in the living room, leaving me in the kitchen to listen in stealthily while pretending to scrub a bowl. Running water muted my presence as his tone slipped through the room, but I could feel the weight of his words. "No, I told you we'll be fine. I'm working on the plan for my investment this quarter. Just needs a few more adjustments." My heart sank. Though the words were vague, the context he carefully shielded came crashing down as I recalled what I'd learned about his clandestine finances. He wasn't just planning to walk away financially, he was weaving a safety net to keep me at bay, allowing him to retreat to a life crafted with Samantha, leaving my future precariously dangling. That night, I retired early to my guest room, my sanctuary from my reality. There, I worked feverishly to cross-reference everything I had discovered over the days. I matched the details of his dealings against Samantha's name. One after another, the connections blossomed. Their clandestine meetings, his financial manipulations laid bare as mere threads I could finally weave together into a single tapestry of betrayal. I remembered the feeling of empowerment as Jenna encouraged me during our last encounter. "You hold the truth, Clara. Love or no love, that counts for everything." Her words rolled around in my heart, driving me forward on this relentless quest. Armed with my notes and the USB drive, I sensed that the final confrontation was brimming just beneath the surface. All my investigations converged at a pivotal moment, a crescendo building under a bittersweet guise, propelling me forward toward the justice I craved. Now, standing at the precipice of confrontation, I felt the contours of my plan come into vivid focus. It was time to shed my silence and embrace the storm. In those quiet hours, my heart pounding against the familiar stillness, I felt my resolve harden. Each detail I'd painstakingly collected now defined my path, an artist with new colors to wield in this fight. The shadows that had haunted me in the past now turned to beautiful hues of clarity and strength. I could finally meld the pieces together, and when the moment came, we would confront the reality Mark had sought to hide. I was ready for the storm, primed to expose the man who had taken me for granted. I would gather my strength and step forward, because my voice would be heard. Dawn broke quietly, casting diffused light through the sheer curtains of my guest room. It felt oddly peaceful in the moments before everything would change. I sat up, breathing deeply, ready to embrace the weight of what lay ahead. This day would mark the culmination of the truth I had relentlessly unearthed. In the kitchen, the smell of brewing coffee served as both comfort and fuel for my nerves. Each drip echoed the cadence of my heart, a steady countdown to what was to come. Creating an alibi was critical. I needed Mark to believe that life was proceeding as normal while I put my plan into action. As Mark emerged from the bathroom, I greeted him with an upbeat tone, working to mask the intensity of my feelings. "Got a meeting today? Busy schedule?" The casual inquiry allowed me to observe him, searching for any signal that might indicate awareness of the confrontation looming ahead. "Be back by dinner," he muttered, his mind clearly elsewhere as he grabbed his briefcase. Once he left, the very atmosphere of our home shifted from an imitation of normalcy to a battleground. I retreated to my sanctuary, the guest room serving as my war room. The USB drive holding all my evidence felt heavy in my bag, a constant reminder of the power I had been preparing to wield. I opened my laptop, pulling up the files, gleefully organizing the documents revealing his deception, financial transfers, missed texts, and intimate emails from Samantha. Each document unveiled layers of betrayal, and I meticulously drafted the narrative destined to be told during our confrontation. Outlining my strategy, I knew that mere accusations would not suffice. I had to be methodical in dismantling the illusion he had created. My plan required luring him into a conversation that would gradually escalate and expose his truths. The clock ticked steadily as I prepared. In front of the mirror, I dressed with intention, choosing a deep navy sheath dress that hugged my silhouette, a reflection of the elegant resilience I was embodying. I needed to exude the confidence I now carried within me. When Mark returned home, I had transformed our living room into a quiet, inviting space, lit warmly to create an atmosphere of comfort while masking the storm that was about to break. I could hear him arriving, his bag rustling, the sound of his footsteps cushioned by our familiar rugs. "Hey, how was your day?" I asked, my voice smooth, the air laden with anticipation. "Busy, but productive," he replied, absent-mindedly focusing on his phone. "Can we talk?" The words slipped from my lips, unwavering as I gestured for him to sit. "Sure, what's up?" He settled into the couch with a casual posture, yet I sensed an underlying tension in his demeanor. Taking a breath, I knew I was crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. "I need to discuss our finances." The moment I uttered those words, I saw his expression shift. The air thickened with a deepening weight. "Finances? I'm sure everything is fine," he replied, a smirk forming on his lips. "Is it?" I challenged, revealing the USB drive from my bag. I began to upload the evidence, letting the cold mass of betrayal illuminate the screen. As the documents loaded, I saw his casualness falter. The screen displayed emails and documented meetings, his secrets, once hidden, now screaming for attention. I could feel the room tightening around us, each pixel of truth rendering his bravado impotent. "You've exploited my trust, Mark. While I was building our life, you were crafting your exit strategy." My voice trembled slightly, but the resolve bolstered my words with gravity. His arrogance morphed into a mix of disbelief and indignation as I continued to expose the threads of his deceit. "What is this? You think you can throw around half-baked notions?" "Half-baked?" I shot back, unwilling to allow his dismissal to derail my momentum. "This is not a narrative I spun. It's the life you chose to live behind my back, the lies you thought were safe." I could see the panic creeping into his eyes as he caught glimpses of the depth of the evidence I amassed. I pressed on, letting my certainty swell with each unfolding revelation. "What did you think would happen? That you could manipulate me without consequence?" In a moment fueled by adrenaline, I felt a surge of power wash over me. The truth had taken center stage, and Mark's defenses crumbled under its force. I saw him wrestle with fear, panic creeping into his features. He had miscalculated my strength. I've been the silent partner for too long, I declared, my voice fortifying the resolve within me. Today, you will witness the woman you've underestimated, the woman whose voice matters. With each revelation, I took control, stripping layers off the comfortable life he had painted with arrogance and deceit. Gone was the fearful person I had once been. A new warrior took her place, steady and clear, standing fearless before the man who had lost all claim to power over me. In that electric moment of confrontation, I knew it wasn't just about the evidence presented, but about reclaiming my identity, my voice. Each truth served as my weapon, every word a declaration that would redirect the course of our lives. Mark sat, stunned, watching the walls of his lies crumble, his world morphing into chaos. This reckoning felt like a rebirth. I was rewriting my narrative at long last, and no longer would I be the silent partner in his game. A fierce calm enveloped me as I prepared to deliver the final strikes, the culmination of everything I had done to stand here today, ready to fight for all I held dear. The room felt charged with an electric tension, each moment pulsing with both the weight of revelation and the taste of impending confrontation. I stood before Mark, finding unexpected strength in my vulnerability. The documents blinked back at us from the laptop screen, illuminating the dark secrets hiding behind our once intimate life. His expression shifted from disbelief to fury. "You've got it all wrong. This is just a misunderstanding." The words spilled from his lips as if hoping to cover his exposed lies with a verbal shield. But I wouldn't let him rewrite the narrative any longer. "Misunderstanding? You think I'm confused?" I shot back, my resolve hardening with each word. "You don't get to spin this anymore. I trusted you, believed in the dreams we built together. You betrayed more than my trust. You betrayed our life." The rise and fall of my chest echoed the trembling strength within me. I took a step forward, narrowing the space that had once shielded us from the truth. Mark's bravado began to crack, revealing a flicker of fear in his eyes that filled me with unmistakable clarity. "Let's talk about Samantha, shall we? Or your illicit meetings that you thought I was oblivious to. Your planned exit that was executed without regard for me." Oaths. His fumbled attempts at reasoning fell flat against the steel of my conviction. "I didn't mean for it to happen this way," he blurted out, desperation flooding his tone. "I was going to tell you, just give me a chance." "A chance?" I laughed, the bitterness souring my voice. "You had your chance every day that you chose to lie instead. While I was building a life with you, you were dismantling it behind my back, crafting a whole new one with someone else." His shoulders slumped, a man suddenly stripped of control. "You don't understand what it's like," he pleaded, his voice raw. "This was never about you. It was my escape." "Your escape?" I echoed, incredulity rising. "You wanted an escape with someone who has nothing to do with the life we shared. How could you think that would—" Suddenly, he lunged for the laptop, intent on shutting down the evidence that revealed him. "Stop!" I exclaimed, my heart racing in that desperate cry. My pulse quickened as I saw the glint of determination in his eyes. "No more running, Mark. You don't get to downplay this." I stepped back, my mind racing with the thought of my next move. "If you want to try and block me, I have witnesses. You know how quickly I could have this all documented? You may escape this moment, but you'll never escape the truth that's now out in the world." The defiance in my tone slammed against the walls, a war cry born of anger and hurt. His face twisted between anger and shame. and for the first time, I felt the scales tipping in my favor. "What do you want?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper, fear rendering him small. I took a deep breath, my anger subsiding just enough to speak with clarity. "I want justice. I want my dignity back, and I want you to feel the weight of the choices you've made. This isn't just about the affairs or the money. This is about respect." I clutched the USB drive tightly, my lifeline in this storm. "I'm not asking for much. I demand that you acknowledge your betrayal and the pain you've caused." His anger suffocated him, rendered powerless without a place to escape. "You're throwing everything away," he hissed, a final desperate attempt at shifting blame. "Our marriage, the life we built." "Our marriage?" I echoed. "What marriage?" "The one built on lies, on deceit. You took a wrecking ball to everything we were. This is your fault, and you will take ownership of it today." The tremor in my voice betrayed the tumult of emotions crashing within me, yet my eyes held steady. I would no longer let his manipulations create chaos in my life. With every word, I reclaimed a piece of my shattered heart. I stood before him, grounded by the knowledge I'd uncovered. What had once felt like defeat became a turning point, the final push toward closure. "You may have thought you could control this situation, but I'm the one holding the power right now." Mark turned away, struck by the reality of being cornered. "You'll regret this," he muttered. "Regret?" The thought barely hung in the air, quickly snatched away by the adrenaline coursing through my veins. There was something liberating in facing him, free from the grip of shame he sought to impose. I held my ground, the determination in my heart crystallizing. "I'll never regret seeking the truth." "You should have thought of what's at stake before choosing your lies," I replied, my steadiness unveiling the courage nesting within me. As he slumped into defeat, I felt the storm of anxiety subside, replaced by a resilient calm. Each truth I had uncovered created a force field around me. The act of drawing from those revelations had unraveled his carefully constructed facade. "Mark, from this moment on, I won't be silenced or manipulated. I'm choosing to reclaim my life, my dignity, and the dreams we once shared. You've lost the right to have a say in that." With that, I turned away from him, the breath of relief cascading through me as I exited what had once been a sanctuary, now turned hall of mirrors, reflecting the truth and chaos in equal measure. The door clicked closed behind me, sealing away the finality of a chapter I was finally ready to close. And in the face of betrayal, I chose justice over silence, reclaiming my life with every step I took toward the future. The days following the confrontation felt surreal, like I had stepped into a new reality. I emerged from the storm, ready to construct a life built on my own terms. The turmoil within me had transformed into a fierce resolve, a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in years. I turned the guest room back into my sanctuary, a peaceful space that now enveloped me in warmth. The blue walls, once reminders of heartache, now embraced me as symbols of rebirth. I meditated each morning, lighting a candle and focusing on my hopes for what lay ahead. With every flicker of the flame, I felt lighter, more centered. One day, Jenna called, her voice brimming with encouragement. "I've been thinking about you. What's next?" It felt good to connect with someone who believed in my journey. "I want to rediscover myself," I replied, a spark igniting within me. I was ready to embrace my own passions and pursuits. That very week, I made a pivotal decision. I enrolled in a creative writing course at the community center. Writing had always been my refuge, a place where I could articulate the emotions swirling inside me. I hoped to reclaim that lost joy and bring my unspoken dreams to life. Stepping into the classroom, a tremor of excitement coursed through me. I had missed this vibrant world where words danced on pages. My nerves faded as I picked up my pen, letting the ink flow freely. The stories poured out of me, tales of love, betrayal, and healing. It felt exhilarating. As I shared my writings with the class, their positive responses wrapped around me like a warm blanket. "Your story matters," one classmate remarked. Their validation stirred something deep within, sealing my connection to my art while allowing me to reclaim my voice. Each class reinforced my confidence, and I threw myself wholeheartedly into this new pursuit. I found joy in writing not just fiction, but also reflections on my own experiences. With each word, I wrestled with the past and charted a path toward my future. My weekends transformed into a mosaic of exploration. I visited local cafes, inhaling the rich aroma of coffee while surrounding myself with novels that sparked inspiration. I took long walks through the vibrant autumn leaves, savoring the crisp air as it invigorated my senses. I was rediscovering not just the world around me, but also the person I had lost along the way. Jenna continued to encourage my progress. "You look radiant lately," she said during lunch. "You're really coming into your own." I smiled knowingly, realizing she was right. I had rekindled friendships and found connections that enriched my life. The laughter at our gatherings felt like sunlight, illuminating spaces that had once been darkened by doubt. Yet, there were still moments when memories of Mark crept in. I learned to embrace those feelings without letting them consume me. Instead of dread, I found myself filled with gratitude for the lessons learned, reframing past pain into resilience and strength. As winter approached, I sat down, ready to outline my first book, a memoir-inspired novel that wove together my journey from betrayal to self-discovery. Each page I drafted became a testament to my strength, a chronicle of survival woven with hope, and ultimately a reflection of newfound self-acceptance. One evening, as I looked out at the gently falling snow, I felt an overwhelming wave of warmth within. I had not only found my voice, but I had rediscovered the gift of living fully. I had emerged from the shadows, a warrior poised to share my journey with the world. When I walked into the kitchen, the smell of freshly baked cookies enveloped me, reminding me of the comfort I had slowly learned to create in my life. The thought of Mark faded as new memories took root, a life I was sculpting with my choices. As I prepared the cookies, I took a moment to look around at the cozy home I was forging. I whispered a promise to myself. I would continue to move forward, carrying the lessons of my past but never being defined by them. In this new phase, I found deep joy in embracing my narrative. I had harnessed the power of storytelling, not just for myself, but also as a means to uplift others who may have faced similar struggles. The act of weaving my truth became a powerful tool for healing. As I sat with a warm cookie and a cup of tea, I felt ready for whatever came next. My journey had only begun, but it was a meaningful, exciting one, built on the strength that had surged from reclaiming my life. In every step, I embraced resilience and joy, finally learning that my voice mattered and that my story deserved to be told. Time moved forward, each passing season further solidifying my newfound sense of self. As winter melted away into spring, the blossoms blossomed in vivid hues, much like the changes within me. Each petal that unfurled mirrored my journey toward warmth, growth, and renewal. I had embraced my role as a writer, pouring my heart into the pages of my memoir-inspired novel, which I had titled The Path to My Voice. With each chapter, I revisited those painful moments with a lens of wisdom gained through experience. By transforming my wounds into words, I created a narrative rich with lessons learned and strength forged in adversity. The manuscript slowly took shape, a collection of stories about love, betrayal, and resilience. I sent it to several literary agents, holding my breath each time, wondering who might recognize the power within its pages. Rejection stung, but each no only reinvigorated my resolve. I recalled Mark's ignorance of my strength, further fueling my determination to share my truth. Alongside my writing, I began to explore local speaking engagements. I frequented community events where I shared snippets of my story, how I had transformed heartache into strength and reclaimed my voice. Each time I spoke, I felt a rush of empowerment. Their applause filled me with a sense of belonging that had once felt elusive. One evening, I found myself standing in a small auditorium, bright lights illuminating my nervousness as I faced an audience eager to connect. I took a deep breath and shared my truth. The journey I had been on, the unwavering choice to become the author of my life. "I want to remind you," I said, my voice steady and strong, "that our stories matter. We are not defined by our past, but by how we choose to rise from them." The faces before me reflected a spectrum of emotions, and I saw flickers of recognition spark in their eyes. I realized I was no longer alone. My journey resonated with others who had weathered their own storms. As spring matured into summer, I received an unexpected email that made my heart leap. An agent had expressed interest in my manuscript, wanting to discuss the possibility of representation. I nearly dropped my phone in disbelief. After months of perseverance and self-doubt, opportunity finally knocked at my door. The meeting came. I entered the agency filled with excitement and a hint of nervousness, my heart racing with hope. As we discussed the intricacies of my story, I found myself speaking not only about my past, but also about my visions for the future. This was no longer just a tale of survival. It had become a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. A few weeks later, as summer blazed with daylight, I received a phone call that would alter my life. My book had been accepted for publication. I could hardly contain my joy. The culmination of hard work, the sleepless nights, and the courage to face my truth had finally manifested into something tangible. My voice would be heard in print, and I felt an exhilarating rush of validation. With the book set to launch in the fall, preparations began in earnest. I collaborated with editors, crafted promotional materials, and planned book signings. I was no longer the woman fearful of her past. I was empowered, a force crafted from courage and clarity. One afternoon, I returned home from a productive meeting and found a bouquet of flowers at my doorstep. A note from Jenna fluttered out from between the petals. "You are an inspiration, Clara. So proud of you, my friend." Tears stung my eyes. I felt gratitude for those who had supported me during my hardest times. As my launch day approached, I reflected on the journey. I thought of the woman I once was, lost in shame, living in fear, shackled by betrayal. Today, I stood tall, arms open to the horizon of possibilities lying ahead. Finally, the day arrived. Friends and family packed the small bookstore where I was set to speak. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, and I felt an overwhelming sense of connection. As I stood before the audience, I smiled, my heart racing with anticipation. With each word I shared that night, I recognized the growth inside me. The pain had transformed into power, a raw and beautiful energy that ignited the room. My story was no longer just about reclaiming my life. It was about inspiring others to free themselves from their shackles. Let today be a reminder, I concluded, that we all have the power to rewrite our own stories. It's our choice to step into the light. The applause erupted around me, waves of encouragement wrapping me in warmth. As I signed copy after copy, assurances bubbled inside. The journey was far from over. This was merely the beginning of an incredible chapter that had blossomed from the ashes of betrayal. I realized that I was not just an author. I was a beacon of hope for those seeking to reclaim their voices. In the months that followed, I traveled, connecting with readers far and wide, sharing my message and inviting stories from others. My heart brimmed with joy. This was the life I had fought for, vibrant and full of purpose. Through every word penned and every story shared, I became a storyteller, not only for myself, but for a community reclaiming their narratives together. And as I moved forward into this new life, I knew this. The past no longer defined me, but it had shaped me into the woman I had become, a warrior, an author, and ultimately a guide for others on their path to liberation. As the seasons shifted toward autumn, I reveled in the essence of change, a truth I had come to embrace. My book, now making its way into the world, became a living testament of resilience and hope. Each reader who reached out to me carried a unique story, and each interaction deepened my understanding of the impact my words could have. I began to host small community workshops, gathering individuals eager to explore their own narratives. The atmosphere within those sessions buzzed with vulnerability and courage. I shared the tools I had used to navigate my journey, illustrating how each setback could be transformed into strength through storytelling. On one crisp evening, I stood in a modest community center, surrounded by a group of eager participants. Their faces reflected a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. I felt an electrifying rush. "Tonight, we begin a journey together," I said, my voice steady. "I want you to know that each of you has a story worth sharing." We delved into techniques for mapping out their stories, allowing them to acknowledge their pasts without the fear that had once held them captive. I guided them through prompts, encouraging them to reflect on their experiences, their betrayals, their triumphs. We laughed together, cried together, and at times sat in silence, allowing the weight of shared understanding to bind us. During these gatherings, I saw the magic of empowerment unfold before my eyes. Women and men alike began to unveil fragments of their pasts, transforming emotions of shame into narratives of bravery. The bonds we formed ignited a sense of community, laying the groundwork for healing and connection. One evening, a single mother named Sarah shared her story, a painful shedding of her past life, a tale colored by betrayal from those she once loved. As she spoke, I could see her tears glistening, yet in the tremor of her voice, I also felt a flicker of strength. "You deserve to reclaim your story, Sarah," I encouraged her, watching her gradually soften beneath her hardened exterior. In response, she smiled, not the forced smile of an attempt to mask pain, but a genuine sign of hope. I never thought about it that way, she admitted, her voice trembling with newfound confidence. By the end of our session, both Sarah and I had reclaimed pieces of ourselves, two women resolute in our commitment to rise and to help each other rise too. Slowly, the workshops evolved into a movement, gathering support and interest from the community. I named it Voices Unbound, a space designed to nurture self-expression and shared healing. By encouraging open dialogue, we began to chip away at the silence that surrounded our experiences, ushering in a more profound understanding of one another's pain while also celebrating recoveries. As winter rolled in, we organized a local book fair. It became our platform to share our stories with the wider community, allowing those who had attended previous workshops to showcase their written work. On the appointed day, I felt a surge of exhilaration while standing behind our booth, flanked by eager writers awaiting the chance to shine. Young and old filled the aisles, some clutching my book, while others carried their own self-published works. Laughter and chatter filled the air, mingled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee from a nearby cafe. I was reminded that we were a tapestry of intertwined experiences, all contributing to the fabric of our community. As I held my own book in hand, I remember initially feeling small against the backdrop of so many incredible stories. But then I glanced at the faces around me, fellow writers, admirers of literature, and seekers of connection. My heart swelled, witnessing the courage we had nurtured. We were all reclaiming control over our words and our lives, a testament to the power of community and shared resolve. That afternoon, I found myself at the podium, ready to speak. "Welcome to Voices Unbound," I began, my voice ringing through the room. "Today, we celebrate our stories, our triumphs over adversity. We are no longer shadows of our pasts. We are warriors, united in our journeys toward liberation." The applause that followed wasn't just for me. It was a showing of solidarity. We acknowledged the power in our shared experiences, the strength we found in vulnerability, and the unity forged through honesty. We stood together, no longer alone, transformed by our willingness to unearth our truths. Later that day, as I signed copies of my book, I was approached by a young reader in her 20s. Her eyes shimmered with hope as she clutched my book close to her chest. "Thank you for writing this. It's inspired me to tell my story," she said, her voice trembling yet fierce. In that moment, I understood that my purpose extended beyond the realms of writing. It was about transforming lives, sparking inspiration, and igniting flames of hope within others. Through Voices Unbound, I had not only cultivated a community, but I also ignited a movement of empowerment, inviting people to share their truths, whatever they may be. I realized I was inherently fulfilled when helping others reclaim their narratives. As winter settled in outside, I looked around me, filling with warmth and ambition. The path ahead was bright. I had become more than an author. I was a steward of storytelling, an advocate of truth, redemption, and the unyielding spirit of resilience. And through every person who crossed my path, I knew one profound truth. We are all authors of our stories, each capable of reshaping our narratives in pursuit of healing and liberation. The cold months turned into a vibrant spring, bringing fresh blooms and renewed energy, and so did my spirit. Voices Unbound began to flourish beyond my expectations, evolving into a robust platform. Women and men shared their truths, and my workshops grew in number and attendance, creating a ripple effect that touched lives throughout our community. We transformed our meetings into themed gatherings, each focusing on different aspects of storytelling, healing through creativity, reclaiming power, and navigating emotional complexities through art. I invited guest speakers whose journeys paralleled our experiences, each sharing their trials and triumphs. The connections flourished, inspiring each of us to seek deeper meanings within our narratives. I still remember one of our most profound sessions focused on reclaiming joy after trauma. We explored the intersections of sorrow and delight, examining how both emotions could coexist. That day, an elderly participant named Margaret, whose face held the traces of a long life filled with struggles, shared her extraordinary laughter. "I lost my husband at a time I thought I could never smile again," she began, her voice rich with emotion. "But what I found was that laughter, even in the smallest moments, is my rebellion against pain." Her story resonated with everyone, igniting contagious laughter throughout the room. In that space, Margaret transformed grief into a celebration of resilience, a reminder that even in pain we could embrace joy. By the end of the session, we had created a community mural that portrayed our journeys, a visual testament to our collective healing. As spring matured, I received a call from a local college. They proposed I teach a course titled The Art of Storytelling and Healing. My heart raced with both excitement and trepidation. This was a chance to reach a new audience, to extend the impact of Voices Unbound beyond its current walls. It also posed a challenge. Could I lead a classroom of eager students, guiding them through their own narratives? "I can do this," I reassured myself, embracing the opportunity. The classroom filled with curious faces on the first day, reflecting a mosaic of diverse backgrounds and life experiences. I felt an exhilarating rush. I was no longer just a survivor sharing her story. I was now a mentor, a guide. Through interactive exercises, I encouraged my students to break free from their hesitations. I introduced them to the therapeutic powers of writing, showing how their words could transform pain into art. Every response I received was met with encouragement, reinforcing my role as a guide in this powerful exchange of storytelling. I created assignments that allowed students to explore multiple forms of expression, from poetry to personal essays. Their creativity unfolded marvelously, revealing the depths of their souls. Each class evoked passion, healing, and connection among us. Their revelations often mirrored my own journey, each story a reflection of our shared humanity. One student, Lisa in particular, captured my attention. As she shared an excerpt about her struggles with anxiety and self-doubt, her vulnerability struck a chord within me. "I've always been afraid of being judged," she confessed, her voice shaking. "But after reading your book, I understand that my story matters." Those words resonated deeply, igniting a symbiotic transformation. Lisa's courage reminded me of my own journey, and in return, I found every story they shared rekindled the flickering flames of my strength. As the weeks passed, I realized we weren't just telling stories to heal. We were creating a legacy of empowerment, one written word at a time. As the semester progressed, a newfound camaraderie emerged. The walls of fear crumbled, replaced by mutual trust. One evening, I invited everyone to share their victories, whether it's as small as finishing a piece or as profound as accepting their pasts. As the stories flowed, I watched as individuals left their silent shadows behind. When the semester finally came to an end, I was filled with a mix of pride and bittersweet nostalgia. I organized a showcase where students could present their work, inviting family and friends to experience their journeys. From nervousness to lifelong friendships formed, it had become a celebration of transformed narratives. On the night of the showcase, I stood before the audience, my heart swelling with gratitude. We've come together not just as individuals with stories to tell, but as a community empowered through our shared experiences. By reclaiming our truths, we can help others to do the same. When my students took to the stage, sharing their words of courage, I saw their metamorphoses unfold. They no longer stood in shadows. They exuded a vibrancy that could light up the world. Each narrative resonated deeply, capturing the hearts of everyone present. Amid the applause, I realized my role was not just to guide them through their journeys, but to learn from them too. We were all interconnected, using the power of storytelling as a bridge to connect deeper truths. As the sun set on a beautiful day of shared growth, I knew I had created a legacy of empowerment, not undertaken by one voice, but by many, echoing collectively into the future. The process of transformation unfolded like petals of a blooming flower, each revealing the beauty within every individual journey. And as spring surged toward summer, I found myself on the brink of a new leg of my journey, where my story continued, one filled with renewed purpose, passion, and the promise of many more lives touched by our collective stories.